blessed good morning to the church. Oh, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. We thank God for his blessing that he restored upon us this morning, that he woke us up, he set us on our way. I know we are here to give him a high note of praise. We say hi to our friends all over the world on the internet. We pray that this service too, that someone will listen to it, will come to call him blessed at the end of the service. At this time now, we will introduce our brother Johan to you. He will be leading worship this morning.
Good morning to all. It is a privilege to be found in the house of God again. At this time, please stand with me as we read Psalm 51. Let's read it together. Have mercy upon me, O God, according to thy loving kindness, according unto the multitude of thy tender mercies, blot out my transgressions. Wash me thoroughly from my iniquity, and cleanse me from my sin. For I acknowledge my transgressions, and my sin is ever before me. Against thee, thee only have I sinned, and done this evil in thy sight, that thou mightest be justified when thou speakest, and be clear when thou judgest. Behold, I was shapen in iniquity, and in sin did my mother conceive me. Behold, thou desirest truth in the inward parts, and in the hidden part thou shalt make me to know wisdom. Purge me with hyssop, and I shall be clean. Wash me, and I shall be whiter than snow. Make me to hear joy and gladness, that the bones which thou hast broken may rejoice. Hide thy face far from my sins, and blot out all my iniquities. Create in me a clean heart, O God, and renew a right spirit within me. Cast me not away from thy presence, and take not thy Holy Spirit from me. Restore unto me the joy of thy salvation, and uphold me with thy free spirit. Then will I teach transgressors thy ways, and sinners shall be converted unto thee. Deliver me from blood guiltiness, O God, thou God of my salvation, and my tongue shall sing aloud of thy righteousness. O Lord, open thou my lips, and my mouth shall show forth thy praise. For thou desirest not sacrifice, else would I give it. Thou delightest not in burnt offerings. The sacrifices of God are broken and a contrite heart. O God, thou wilt not despise. Do good in thy good pleasure unto Zion. Build thou the walls of Jerusalem. Then shalt thou be pleased with the sacrifices of righteousness, with the burnt offering and whole burnt offering. Then shall they offer us upon thine altar. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Ghost, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. You may remain standing. At this time, we'll sing that song. We have come into his house, gathered in his name to worship him. Let us lift up holy hands and magnify his name and worship him. Christ our Lord.
We
Prayers, we know that God hears and answers prayers. You may be seated at this time. We're going to sing that chorus. Somebody prayed for me. They had me on their mind. They sacrificed their time. They fell down on their knees and prayed for me. They had no doubt that God would bring me out, that he would change my life and set me free. I'm so glad that someone prayed for me. Are you glad that somebody prayed for you this morning? Amen. Somebody prayed for me.
Somebody
16, verse 1 to 15, and it will be read by our brother Shane at this time.
Morning. A soft answer turneth away wrath, but grievous words stir up anger. The tongue of the wise useth knowledge, they rake, but the mouth of fools poureth out foolishness. The eyes of the Lord are in every place, beholding the evil and the good. A wholesome tongue is the tree of life, but perverseness therein is a breach in the spirit. A fool despiseth his father's instructions, but he that regardeth reproof is prudent. In the house of the righteous is much treasure, but in the revenue of the wicked is trouble. The lips of the wise disperse knowledge, but the heart of the foolish doeth not so. The sacrifice of the wicked is an abomination to the Lord, but the prayer of the upright is his delight. The way of the wicked is an abomination unto the Lord, but he loveth him that followeth after righteousness. Correction is grievous unto him that forsake the way, and he that hateth reproof shall die. Hell and destruction are before the Lord. How much more than the hearts of the children of men? A scorner loveth not one that reproveth him, neither will he go unto the wise. A merry heart maketh a cheerful countenance, but by sorrow of the heart the spirit is broken. The heart of him that hath understanding seeketh knowledge, but the mouth of fools feedeth on foolishness. All the days of afflicted are evil, but he that is of a merry heart hath a continual feast. Here and after Bible read.
We thank our brother Shane for reading the scripture for us. At this time, I'm going to give you an opportunity to stretch your legs more than you have this morning. And we're going to sing that song, I Will Enter Into His Gates with Thanksgiving in My Heart. But during the singing of this song, I want you to go around. There are many persons here who are probably here for the first time. So I want to give you the opportunity to meet and greet everyone. So during the singing of this song, feel free to leave your seats and greet somebody and give them a hug and a kiss. And as the pastor would say, this is not the time to discuss the cricket scores, but just to say hi and then return back to your seats as soon as possible. So we'll sing it a couple times to give you a chance to mingle. next song that we'll be singing is a favorite of mine, and I'm hoping that more of you know it. It's not a new song, but it's not an old song either. But in my opinion, it's one of the greatest written modern songs of its time. And the song goes like this. In Christ alone, my hope is found. He is my life, my strength, my song. This cornerstone, this solid rock, firm through the fiercest drought and storm. What heights of love, what depths of peace. When fears are stilled and striving cease, my comforter, my all in all, here in the love of Christ I stand. I especially like verse 3. There in the ground his body lay, light of the world by darkness slain. Then bursting forth in glorious day, up from the grave he rose again. And as he stands in victory, since curse has lost its grip on me, for I am his, and he is mine, bought by the precious blood of Christ. And I hope that you can follow along with this song.
In Christ alone.
your holy name, Father.
I ask, dear God, why do you worry, dear God, about the star? But Heavenly Father, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever, God,
Ever, Lord
believes
Jesus.
in him this morning should not perish, but thank God this morning for everlasting life.
Oh, hallelujah.
Heavenly Father, whatever our situation is this morning, we want to lift our hands, dear God, and praise you, dear God.
I praise you,
Because, dear God, you are the ultimate, dear God. Oh, dear God, I pray for those in our members this
Father,
morning, Heavenly
Lord
Father,
Jesus.
who are ill, dear God. The devil has seen it afflict, dear God, to afflict, dear God, the souls, the body, dear God, of your members, dear Heavenly Father. But, dear God, because he afflicted the body, dear God, I can raise my hand this morning and say, he cannot touch the soul, dear God.
Hallelujah.
He cannot
Bless your
touch
name,
the
Lord.
soul, dear God.
Bless your
He can
name.
do whatever he can with the
Bless
body,
your
dear
name,
God.
Lord.
But our
Lord,
souls this
thank you,
morning,
Lord.
I am a testament this morning
Oh, yes,
that
Father
our
Jesus.
souls, dear
Oh,
God,
give him
once
thanks,
Say
Lord.
placed
praise
in
Give
your
him
your
thanks,
holy
hands
name.
belongs
Give
to
him
you,
thanks.
dear God. I pray this
Lord.
morning
You have
for the
done
sick,
so
dear God. There are many
Oh,
in our
hallelujah.
presence this morning, dear God, who are here,
Bless him.
but no
Oh,
well.
thank you,
But
Lord
I
Jesus.
believe in a great physician.
Lord,
I believe in his sympathizing Jesus. Touch your people this morning. Touch them, dear Heavenly Father. I pray for courage. The battle ahead, dear God, is not easy, dear God. But you, dear God, are the captain of this ship.
Yes.
Heavenly Father, we pray for guidance this morning. Oh God, we come before you this morning. Oh dear God, I pray, dear God, for the young ones gathered in your presence, Heavenly
not introduce to you this morning the guy who is filling in for me, which is our brother Delano Eiffel, right? Eiffel, sorry. He's a friend of a friend who reached out to a friend who teaches drums, and she recommended this young guy. So I want you all to give him a big Shalem welcome and thank him for filling in. For our offering song, we're going to sing that old chorus. I hope many of you know it. Sister Sharon talked about the warfare that the Christian has to go through. And this song bears that out because we're supposed to be soldiers for God. The song says, let's go forward for God and fight like soldiers brave. Don't give in nor stand for sin. The Lord is mighty and he's bound to win. Satan, like an evil foe, doth fight against the Lord. So put on your armor and take up your sword. We are going in the name of the Lord. It's funny, this song is a song that I've heard many times at other churches. And just a couple Sundays back, we went to this church in St. Andrew. And we know this song as a chorus, but this is an entire song. Unfortunately, it was not able to get the verses. And it will be very interesting for something. Whenever I do get the verses, I'll be sure to bring it back to you because it tells different stories about the different characters of God. It will say Daniel went forward for God, Joshua went forward for God, and that sort of thing. So as soon as I can get those lyrics for you, we have an entire song that we can sing. But for now, we sing the chorus, let's go forward for God. Remember to put on our armor and pick up our sword, for we are going in the name of the Lord. Let's bow our heads. Eternal Father, we thank you for the opportunity that you lent here to us this morning. We pray that as these offerings come to you, that you'll bless it and use it for the furtherance of your kingdom. We ask that whatever continues here today will be to your honor and to your glory. In Jesus' name we ask. Amen.
Amen.
You may be seated. At this time, you'll have the notices.
A most blessed and wonderful good morning to the church. Greetings. The notices are as follows. We have an invitation this evening. It's an appreciation service for Pastor Theodore Lawrence. That's the Ebenezer Gospel Tabernacle in the corner of Passage Road, not Passage Road, that would be right there by the traffic light, the corner of Barbasel and Westbury Road. All right, we know where it is. So the Ebenezer Gospel Tabernacle, they're having an appreciation service for our dear Pastor Theodore Lawrence. And that service is at 4 p.m. They've issued an invitation to us, so we leave here at 3:30 to join the brethren there at the Ebenezer Gospel Tabernacle. Okay, we leave at 3:30. During the week, on Wednesday, we have our midweek service, 7:15 p.m., our midweek service, and our Bible study, 7:15 p.m. And we were reviewing the fruit of the Spirit found in Galatians chapter 5. The fruit of the Spirit, love, joy, peace, long-suffering, and so on. So you can continue to read that entire book, the book of Revelation, the book of Galatians. The only 6 chapters, the book of Galatians. So read upon that and come prepared for Bible study on Wednesday at 7:15 p.m. On Thursday, as well as Friday, there will be some practice sessions. On Thursday evening at 6, and also on Friday evening at 6. Thursday evening at 6, the missionary choir will be practicing. So please make an extra special effort to be here this Thursday, 6 p.m. Practice of the missionary choir. On Friday evening, practice for the children. So the children are practicing on Friday at 6 p.m. Friday at 6 p.m. Practice for the children. Of course, the choir is not to be left out. The choir will be practicing on Thursday evening as well at 7:30 p.m. The senior choir practicing on Thursday at 7:30 p.m. And of course, youth service on Friday evening. That's also at 7:30. Friday at 7:30, youth service. I'm going to say a little bit more about Friday coming on to the end. All right? The prayer breakfast that was to be held here at this church, that will now be on Saturday coming. That will now be on this Saturday, the 20th. All right? This is sponsored by the Family, Faith, and Freedom Barbados. It's not an invitation, but they will be using the facility here for that prayer breakfast. That will be Saturday at 8:30. Saturday, 8:30 a.m. Next Sunday morning, Sunday school at 9 a.m. and our Sunday morning's worship at 10. Sunday morning's worship at 10. And then we fast forward for another Sunday. That will be our annual missionary service, which is the following Sunday evening at 3:30. Sunday the 28th of October, 2 Sundays away. Sunday the 28th at 3:30 p.m. 3:30 p.m. Sunday the 28th will be our annual missionary service, one of the big events of the year. So please make a special effort to be here and let us invite as many friends as we can. All right, so that's the 28th, our annual missionary service, 3:30 in the afternoon. Now, there's also an invitation. That's the very last day in October. The People's Pentecostal Church in Curtains, St. Philip. And that's their annual rally. That's Pastor McLean, as you know, our friend Pastor McLean, Curtains. And that will be 7:30 p.m., Wednesday the 31st of this month, October, at 7:30 p.m. And then we have our own annual rally here. So after supporting him, we look forward to our own annual 12-character rally. So we looking forward to that. Sunday the 18th of November at 4:30 p.m. And then from the 19th to the 21st, nightly at 7:30 p.m. So the 18th of November until the 23rd of November will be our annual rally. That takes place of the week of our anniversary. Okay? Our 63rd anniversary. So that's the same week. So we look forward very much to that event. Very much. Now, as I said, there are 12 groups in the rally. Church will be divided into 12 groups. Well, Group 11 is sponsoring pizza sale. Started last Friday evening. Okay, we say we had moderate success. We want everybody to order pizza. If you don't eat pizza, give me or give somebody else. All right? Order the pizza. It's just $5 a slice. All right? All you need to do is pay for it and eat it. It's very delicious. So make an order. All right? This is a Charnel. You can, or myself, or anybody in Group 11. Order beforehand, okay, and get your orders. And it will help to make the rally even more successful. All right, because all 12 groups is one group as far as I'm concerned. So order your pizza. It's healthy. You just need to be healthy to eat it. Order your pizza, $5 a slice. All right, let's buy out all the pizza that can be had. So speak to us this morning, whatever you want. Order early. Is that okay? Amen. This is going towards the cause of the rally. Group 11 would have won anyhow without that, but it was want to assist and bring in some more funds. All right? So God bless you in that particular endeavor. We look forward very, very much to the rally. Our premier fundraising event is also very educational. It's not just about raising funds. So the next time we see each other is this evening. We're going to Pastor Lawrence. All right? The Ebenezer Church. So we're leaving at what time? 3:30. We're leaving at 3:30 to help our brother there. Westbury Road. Okay? So those are the notices for now. God bless you as you continue to pay attention to them. Now we have birthdays and anniversaries. You don't have to be a member. Anybody having a birthday during this week, please come. Let us celebrate with you. Anybody having a birthday this week? Yeah. Someone is coming? Come, we want to celebrate with you. It's a privilege to see another birthday. So, you can stay right here, Judah. Yeah, you can stay right here. When we finish the song, you will tell the whole church, right? That's okay? Or you can sing it. You can come in the center, take center stage. It's your day.
Okay, that is Miss Johnson, Patricia Johnson, who is from the Spooners Hill Retreat. She really celebrated her 69th birthday yesterday, and assisting her up front is Nurse Maynard, and she is celebrating her birthday tomorrow. I think she's going to be 22 years old, so we have two birthdays.
Thank you so much. 69 and 22. May God help you to see many more birthdays. You're welcome. Have there any anniversaries? Okay, well, God bless all of you.
We thank you, Brother Dave, for giving the notices. I trust that you enjoyed the first half of our service. At this time, it is time for us to get ready to hear from the Word of God. And the Word of God will be coming to us. Don't mind it is you Sunday. It is coming from our pastor, Barker. Please stand as he comes.
Thank you, Brother Johan. You may be seated. I remember some years ago there was an incident when my father was the pastor of the church, and his son did something during the service that I did not approve of. And all he said that morning was, "That's my son." I remember that because maybe this morning I'm saying the same thing. But when he talked about, when he spoke about it being your Sunday, I thought that they have finally come to the understanding that, what really happens. But anyhow, I give God thanks for every year that they have. And I heard our sister is 92 years old. Hello? 69. Oh, somebody gave me wrong information. 69. That's a few years older than I am. But this morning I want to welcome our friends coming and sharing with us this morning. I hope that you'll be having an enjoyable time so far. And one of these days I will not welcome you formally, you know why? Because you will become so much a part of us that when I see you there, you just, not that we would ever not appreciate what you'd be doing, but at least I would see you as fitting into the whole scheme of things. So God bless you this morning, and God bless all. So anybody here for the very first time that we've missed, might have missed? Anybody for the very first time? Oh. Can we give them a good Shalem welcome? Thank you very much for coming and sharing in this morning's service. Hello? I missed one? Oh, the drummer. He's here. He was here yesterday. Yeah, church members, please do not forget that this evening we are invited to Pastor Lawrence, his church. They're having an appreciation service for him, and we are invited. And I shouldn't be saying this on the whole World Wide Web, but this is the truth, that sometimes when people hear that there's an invitation on the evening, they say, good, I got a chance. I don't have anything for the rest of the day. That is not good. Soon from now, we'll be inviting persons to our rallies and all of our other events. And we'll be hoping that they turn up and looking through the door to see when they come. Not that that is good enough reason to go, but I'm making the point that we need to share with our brothers and our sisters and let them know that we care about them. All right, so this evening, our evening service will be at Ebenezer Gospel Tabernacle. I've been told this morning that today is Family and Friends Day. And it caused me to start thinking about the family as it is and the family as it should be. There are two different things. There was a time when the family that existed and the one that God ordained was not that far apart. But now we are finding that the family is not what it used to be, and it seems as though the family is going further and further away from the goalposts and the signposts and the landmarks that God himself has set. And when that happens, we look back to the Bible and we ask ourselves, what does the Bible say about family? What it is that God has ordained? What should we be looking at? And if we are starting a family, what is it that we should be expecting? And a few of these things I will look at this morning. And of course, whenever I look at what God ordains, it is up to you and I then to look at what happens and see if there's a difference. And the Christian person should always, whenever there's a difference, begin to say, well, I am not on the right track. I need to get back on the track that God has placed us on. Heavenly Father, today we give you thanks for your holy word. May you bless it. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Now, Colossians chapter 3 and verses 18, from verse 18, Colossians chapter 3, verse 18, gives us an idea of what the biblical thinking is concerning the family. There are other passages that we may look at as well, but this is one which gives us an idea of what should happen. Colossians chapter 3, verse 18. And it starts with this: Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as is fit in the Lord. Husbands, love your wives and be not bitter against them. Children, obey your parents in all things, for this is well pleasing unto the Lord. Fathers, provoke not your children to anger, lest they be discouraged. Servants, obey in all things your masters according to the flesh, not with eye service as men pleasers, but in singleness of heart, fearing God. And whatever ye do, do it heartily as to the Lord, and not unto men, knowing that of the Lord ye shall receive the reward of the inheritance, for ye serve the Lord Christ. But he that doeth wrong shall receive for the wrong which he hath done, and there is no respect of persons. Only a week or so ago, a guy sent me a question on the internet, which I haven't answered yet. And he said to me that this young lady at church, she was a church member, and she became pregnant. And obviously, because she was an active church member, the church called her and asked her what is going on here. And she said, well, I realized that I was getting a certain age, and I did not want to commit fornication. So I went and I got insemination. Therefore, I didn't commit fornication. I am pregnant, but there's nobody to blame, so to speak. I didn't have any relationship with any man. So what is the situation here? And it caused me to think, because normally when we talk about fornication, we talk about, have two people who are not married having a relationship with one another, full stop. And this woman was arguing that since she didn't have a relationship with anybody, that she's good to go. But then you don't only look at what is said, but you have to look at what is not said. And you have to also look at passages and deduce what is being said and the inferences that you can draw from them. In Colossians chapter 3 and verse 18, it starts with what? Wives. In verse 19, it speaks about husbands. In verse 20, it speaks about children. And verse 21 goes on to talk about fathers. I can just say in 22, it speaks of servants. And there's much debate about whether the Bible condones slavery. But the point has to be made that Israel was a nation that was always at war. There were always enemies trying to overthrow them, and they had to be in defense of themselves. And because of that, when you take prisoners from other countries, then they are prisoners, and they become servants. It's not like the Israelites were enslaving each other, but because they were at war, they often had to take prisoners of war. So that I've just throw in that for a better clarification. But the Bible presupposes, when the Bible is talking about family, the Bible presupposes that there's something called a wife. It also presupposes that there's somebody called a husband. And then it goes on to talk about children. And after it speaks about children, it begins to talk about fathers. So if you look at the order of things, and logically, you have to assume that when two people come together, more than 90% of the time, they're talking about starting a family. And therefore, the Bible is talking about this woman who wants to start a family as a wife. It speaks to the man who wants to start a family as a husband. And then it speaks of children. Now, in modern times, when we look at what happens, we recognize that in a lot of cases, we start the other way around. We start with the child. And after the child is born, then we hope that the person becomes the father. But I haven't done any statistics, but in a high percentage of the time, the person who quote-unquote fathers the child, well, let me say fathers the child biologically, is not always the person there to guide the child, because that person's intentions might have been different from yours. You were looking for a family and he looking for fun. All two begin with F, but they're completely different. So after he's had his fun, he gone. So you have a child, you have no father. There is no wife, there is no husband. And therefore, what happened then is that the order is immediately compromised. Because God intended that within a relationship, when there are children, there are two people who would have come together before, who would have gone through it. Sometimes you go through a period of courtship. How long it is not prescribed, but it all depends on the individuals. You go through a period when those two rough stones more or less are rubbed together until they come to some sort of smoothness. Because when two people come together, I come with my ideas, you come with your ideas, and together we have to work out things. And hopefully after we've had a period to do that, then the children come along in an environment where they are able now to progress with two persons who have similar ideas and are able to guide the children along a particular path. So if we get back to the question that the guy would have asked me, I would have to say what the lady has done is decided that I want a child, but the child will never know who the father is. Because the donor, I don't even have to know. I just get something from the bank. You understand what I'm saying? You go and you get your stuff from the bank. You don't even know if the person before you had what diseases or what have you, but you just want a child. And you have decided that my child will not have a father. I have to then try to become father and mother, which is an impossibility. A woman cannot father a child. A woman can bring up a child and she can try as best as she can, but she can never be a role model for a child. You see, God has made us different. Whether we like it or not, we are different. And no matter how many operations we have, we still remain different. As husband and wife, sometimes we have a lot of quarrels. You know, I was in the kitchen the whole morning, you didn't come to help me. I'm not bringing tales out of the kitchen. I was working in the house the whole day and you were reading the paper. You were on the computer and you didn't come to help me. Those are normal arguments that husband and wives had. You wanted breakfast and you couldn't come out and fry an egg for yourself. You just waited until I finished and you came and ate it and you didn't even say thanks. Those are not like stories that I'm bringing out. But you know one argument that I have never heard within the marriage? I had to nurse the child from Sunday to Friday, and you off to Saturday, you don't think you could come and nurse the child today? Why don't we ever have that argument? Because God has not made it so. Because God created us male and female. That is how God created us. And there's nothing that we can do about it. When that biological stamp was placed on you, you were born with it and you died with it. It doesn't matter how you look. It doesn't matter how you feel. What is the reality that is how God has made you. So don't let's try to fool around with nature. And anytime a man gets up and he can help his wife nurse the child and do all the other things, well, then I would give in that something is changing. But God has not changed his order. And we ask ourselves, why do we want to change the order? Now let me say that I remember my father many years ago when we lived in Mahika, and this has to be probably near 50 years ago, and he was looking at the changing landscape of Barbados. And he started to talk about Mahika, where he lived and where he grew up. And he would have mentioned about a dozen families that lived in Mahika. And he started to talk. At the bottom there was so-and-so and his wife. Then came up, there was so-and-so of his wife. And at that time, even though there were still many families in Mahika, he started to talk about, you know, he had to miss out certain houses because they were different. The husband and wife thing had begun to go through the window. And now, if we do the statistics, we would recognize that marriage is becoming a thing of the past. And that marriage now is not the preferred option. We can bring up a child. I must get a child. And I don't really care. And I said already that I knew of a person who was of fair complexion and had that type of hair. You know, that type of hair that people consider to be special. And a woman came to him and said, I want a child from you. Now, I'm speaking a bit more factual, you know, clearly than I would normally do. The woman said, I want a child from you. In other words, she wasn't interested in a relationship. She didn't really care about a relationship. The man looked a certain way, so she wanted a child from him. But she didn't know anything about the man. And you know what the commercial used to say? You can't tell by looking. You can't tell by looking what a person has. But I'll tell you something about men. Women, listen carefully. When a man is out to use you, every time you see him, he will look as though he just came from Sunday school. You understand what I'm talking about? He will put on his best face. And he will make you believe that he is family to Michael the Archangel who just came down from heaven. Until he achieves his objective. And then the devil comes out. Oh, I didn't know he was a beater. I didn't know that. I thought I was the only person that he had. By that time, the horse has long bolted. And if we can look at what God has prescribed and look at some of the things that we do, then we get an idea of how far we have gone away from the precepts that God has given us. And there's one thing that is plain in the Bible: anytime that we go away from what God has prescribed, we are in trouble. There is always problems whenever we do, no matter what the reason is. Now, I'm one of the privileged children in here, because for all of my school days, I never came home, except there was probably some emergency and found the house empty. I had to go on the block until somebody came home to try to cook a meal. My mother was one of those old-fashioned women who believed that somebody had to look after the house while somebody looked after the finances. That was the situation in which we grew up. And whatever you may say, there were changes, there was a sort of responsibilities within the home that everybody seemed to know what their job was. My sister never had to take the goat out and feed it or clean the cow pens or certain things. She never had to do that. But when we wanted to play cricket, sometimes we were told, well, look, go and graze that goat. And the Lord help you if your father came and found the goat tied to something. Because what you would do sometimes is that you would tie the goat and go and play cricket, and then the goat can only get a certain amount of grass. So in that home, there was a sort of responsibility. The girls tended to stick close to the mother and learn from their mother what was expected of them. So within that home, the man took care of the finances, the woman took care of the home, and the children were given responsibilities. They knew what they had to do. There were certain chores that they were given, and they had to do them. Obviously, even though it is not proper for you to speak at this time, I can still hear you say that old-fashioned thing. Yes, I can hear you, that antiquated thing. But I say to you that under that arrangement, we came up in a house without a lock. When you got home, no matter whether somebody was home or not, you pulled the door and went in. So the house had no lock. You came and you went. And the neighborhood was such that, you know, when Sister Thorne was going out, Miss Barker, are you out? And if anybody tries to go near that house that we don't know, the neighbors would look out for each other. But how often now do we live in a village and you don't even know the person 2 houses from you? So I'm saying that we have changed. But the question is, have we changed for the better? That is the question we ask. Have we changed for the better? And I ask myself the question, why is it that in my time, the wrought iron man had no work? As a matter of fact, when I was growing up, there were blacksmiths. The blacksmiths made shoes for the horses and wheels for the cars. But nobody that I can remember when I was growing up had wrought iron bars at the windows. I'm not saying that there was no stealing, but stealing was an uncommon thing. And there was a morning close to Christmas that I went into a home in, I think it was in Jackman's, St. Matthew's, and I think he killed the child and the mother. And I remember the old people talking about that thing for weeks and weeks afterwards. What a cruel thing it was. And so you found that you came home and drink, and if they have a $10 left, well, this is what's for the home. So that began to cause problems. And whenever there are problems, sometimes we look for solutions. And the women decided this ain't happening. We are going to get our own dollar bill. and then nobody will ever be able to tell us what to do. Solution. So the women started to go to work. Not only did they go to work, but they learned better. And then the government helped them some years ago by putting the boys and the girls to compete in the same classes. So all hell broke loose. The women had a plan because the mothers were telling the daughters, look, go and get your education, that you can work for yourself, that you don't have to listen to any man. So Colossians 3:18 went through the door. Wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands. You know, I'm submitting to my husband because they're working for more than you. You understanding me? Are you working for more than you, so you don't have a say in here. And as a matter of fact, if you talk too much, I put you out. We smile at these things, but this is the reality of life. So what happened in the meanwhile? Women were getting the education, men were getting the education. The poor children are dragged out to the bed at 6 o'clock on mornings, sent to some daycare. Hopefully one that looks after the children well, like Shalem daycare. But then when the women come home the evening and the men come home the evening after a whole day of fighting to make $1, sometimes with some bosses that are unscrupulous, they get home the evening and they don't have any time for this pot thing, so they come home with a little box of Kentucky or Chafet. Come eat that. But between that time, when the children came off at 3 o'clock and you got home, children had a time for themselves. They gravitated towards each other. And whereas we might have gone and played cricket, all of our children don't do that. They go to the blocks where they may pick up things. As a matter of fact, if you go to some blocks, you don't even have to smoke anything. You only have to sit down with the fellas for half an hour. And you can get your high. And then you start thinking, well, if the other fella's doing it, I can do it too. So you see, solving one problem. A few unscrupulous men who came home and threw the pot through the window and abused the mother. And the children said, this can't happen to me. The children then took a different course in life. So even within the modern day marriage, what do you have? I am my own man. I am my own woman. You can't tell me what to do. I carry my own ship to sea. And the children, what happens to the children? In some relationships, the children play the father against the mother because they may be two different places, and the children know well how to work the system. So when the father better had treat them well, because if not, I'm not coming back at you. And when the mother has to do her best to make sure that they don't want to go back to the father. And the mother says, I want you to do so and so. And the father may not outright say it, but he infers that that is nonsense. So the children are drawn between two. And so I asked the question, if I was a Christian boy or girl thinking of starting a relationship, what are some of the things that I need to think about? Let me start with the man. If I were a man, I would have to think, what does the Bible say about marriage? That I have to love my wife. All right, love ain't a problem. Colossians says love ain't a problem. But if you turn to Ephesians 5, the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, and he is the Savior of the world. And in verse 25, husbands, love your wife, even as Christ loved the church and gave himself for it. So you got a prescription that sounds funny, because for what I remember, Jesus never used to beat the church and abuse it. As a matter of fact, he gave his life for his church. And he allowed them to beat him in order for the church to live. And wait, that's the sort of love that I have to give as a husband? That I have to love my wife like how Christ loved the church? Well, that ain't sound right, because Christ got a lot of licks. You see? So you understand then that the Bible is saying, love your wife, and you take it casually, and then you realize that God is not just allowing you to define what love is, but he's telling you what love is. He's telling you the sort of way that you have to love your wife. It means that when there's a situation, it's me or you have to come first. Because